If you get your takeaway wrong, you've got to work double as hard later in the swing to try get back online. In this video, I'm going to show you the two most common faults that I see in the takeaway teaching golf day to day and the drills you can do to fix it. So why don't we start off first with why the takeaway is even important. There's so much time between taking the club away and then striking the ball that does it even matter? Is it even important? There's so many players on the PGA Tour who take it outside, take it inside. You know, isn't that proof that actually we don't need a perfect takeaway? And well, you're sort of half right but half wrong, I would say. So we've got PGA Tour players that are sort of bad examples to copy because they're practicing 5, 6, 7, 8 hours every day. So they could really make whatever move they like, and if you do it enough, you can actually make it consistent. So I wouldn't really use that as an excuse. Most golfers I meet practice for pretty much no more than 30 minutes a week. So you actually have to have a more correct technique in order to hit shots because you don't have that time to practice and make it consistent. The reason we need a good technique is so much of the golf swing and so much of creating speed and power is about sequencing, having the club head travel the right amount in the right times, having the body move the right amount. And if we get that wrong, it basically becomes impossible to hit the ball with power and hit the ball sort of from the inside. I think the takeaway is actually really important because when the club is moving back this first half of the swing, the club's moving really slowly, so we can have quite a lot of control over that. It's very difficult to control what the club's doing when you're swinging at 100 plus miles an hour. You know, any adjustments you're trying to make down here in the downswing, it's too late by then. The club's out of position, you're going to have to deal with it, but we can set the club up to get into a good position sort of in this first third of the backswing. So not only does a poor takeaway mean that the club is a long way out of position, but it also means that the sequencing of the swing is wrong. You're really going to struggle to hit the ball from the right angle and release the club at the right point so that the fastest part of your swing is at the ball and not some point before impact or some point after impact. And those are just being efficient. So getting this first third of the swing right is really important. Okay, right, whilst I've still got your interest, thank you very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying it and I hope you're understanding a bit more about your takeaway. If you could please like and subscribe, comment if you think I'm handsome, comment if you don't think I'm handsome. All the engagement you can offer me is brilliant. It helps me grow. The last video did pretty good for new subscribers, so thank you very much for that. If you could share the video, that'd be great. That's enough begging. Please, let's get back to discussing the takeaway. So what does a bad takeaway even look like? Well, I generally think that you can categorize golfers into two camps when they have a bad takeaway. The first person is the straight back, straight through player. So this person, in an attempt to try and swing straight down the target line because they believe that that's going to create a straight golf shot, what they do is they take the club almost back on a straight line, their arms become disconnected, they often then lift up to the top, and then from there they swing down and try and swing straight through. But really, more often than not, what happens is they swing right across the ball and hit a weak slice. The other main takeaway fault I see is the person who keeps the club too low for too long, the low and slow player, I would call them. So this is the person that the club comes back way too inside. This is really, really common on a driving range. The club stays too low, the club goes back way inside. This person will then swing up to the top too flat. The club will tend to round off, try get back somewhat on line, and then as they transition, it's super steep, it's really ugly. I hate seeing this. No one enjoys watching it on the range. They're over the top, they whip across it, they shank it, they thin it, they slice it, and it's a real mess. So if you're one of those players, then we definitely need to correct that, because unfortunately with those swings, unless you've got some wicked manipulations, you're just going to really struggle to hit the ball consistently. What even makes a good takeaway? Well, if we start in your address position, if we start with just understanding what the body needs to do, as we initiate the swing, what should happen is the left shoulder, so I'm right-handed, so the left shoulder should work down, and the right hip should move back, and doing those two moves actually gets the hands to track inwards. The arms should stay, that left arm should stay fairly connected to the left chest through this part of the swing. Shoulder down, hip back, arm are connected. And you can start to see that this is going to get my hands working more around my body, which is great. People need to understand that the club in the takeaway moves in 3 dimensions. So it moves back, away from the ball. It's going to move in somewhat, in from the target line. And it needs to move up, away from the ground. Back, in, and up. This is where people go wrong. I don't think people really understand about the up portion of the swing. So in order for us to hit that perfect takeaway, the club needs to move up, away from the ground a lot more than people realize, and that can happen in 2 ways. So this, and that's through wrist hinge. We're not lifting, we're going to hinge our wrists to move the club up in the air. Now there's 2 different types of wrist hinge. There's the thumbs up wrist hinge, where I'm just moving my thumbs up, I'm cocking my wrists upwards, and that lifts the club up. Or there's the back hinge, so that right wrist is going to move like knuckles backwards, not upwards, it's knuckles backwards, and again that lifts the club off the ground. So this is the thumbs up hinge, this is the back hinge. Both lift the club in the air. Now the thumbs up hinge is going to get the club face more open, so this is good to do if you're a hooker, and the back hinge keeps the face more closed, so that's a great one to do if you're a slicer. So what we need to do is combine those 3 moves. Shoulder down, hip back, that's what the body's doing. We want the club to come back, in and up. Back, in and up. Just like this. And what that's doing is it's allowing me to, I'm turning, my shoulders going down, my hands are moving back, I'm cocking my wrists up. And what you can see is the club actually travels quite a long way compared to where my hands are. And this is the magic to the sequencing. So the club head is going to travel the furthest, my hands shouldn't move as far, my arms move a bit less, my shoulder moves a bit less. And that's what kinematic sequencing is. For those of you interested in big words, what we have to do is have the club do the hard work. We're trying to get the club to move a long way whilst moving our chest and our shoulders probably not really that far. And so what we need to understand is, in order to get that club head moving the longest, it needs to move the quickest. So as we hinge our wrists up, that club head's traveling a good distance with our hands not moving very far. So if we tie in that shoulder down, hip back, hinge the wrists, then what we get is that sort of Colin Morikawa, Rory McIlroy takeaway, where the hands have worked in from their starting position. They've moved back away from the target, and the wrists have hinged up so that the club, our hands are in and the club is out. And that's really as simple as it is, but so many people get this wrong. They go, club head stays too low because there's no upward hinge to the wrists, and that's what causes this. The straight away player, they don't have enough in to their swing. They're manipulating their arms out away in order to try and keep that club straight. The hands move in from their starting position, the wrists hinge up, and that gets us into that perfect takeaway position. And from there it's easy just to continue the hinge, continue the shoulder turn, and that gets us into a really solid top position. So what drills can we do in order to get the right feel for this? So the perfect drill for the people who take the club away too low and inside is what my coach calls the samurai drill. And what you're going to do is you're going to dress the ball, and then you're going to hinge the wrists up as if you're holding a sword. Hinge the wrist straight up, so that looks a bit like this. And then you're going to turn to the top and then swing down. So this looks a little bit like the Matthew Wolf. He's got quite an extreme backswing, extreme takeaway, where he hinges his wrists super early. He does get his hands moving in, but here's like a really extreme early wrist hinge, a bit like David Ledbetter's A swing, where he's trying to get the hands in, full hinge of the wrist, and then down. So you're going to address the ball, hinge the wrists up, turn back, and then swing down. That was fat, but we'll keep it in, we'll roll with it. The drill I like for the golfers who tend to sort of take the club back too straight back, too outside, is I have them drop their right foot back, and I have them really feel some connection underneath their lead arm. So maybe putting a glove or a head cover under their left arm if you're a right-handed golfer, and just try and make some short swings where that left arm stays really connected. So if I lift the club away, I'm going to create a gap between the left arm and the chest. Now we don't want to do that. So if we can make some swings holding a glove or just feeling that connection between the left arm and the chest with our foot back, what you'll see is the hands work in a lot more. Don't forget to add the hinge in to keep the club sort of like more on plane. That fixes the hand path. In the golf swing, we're trying to get the hands to work around our body in a circle. We're not trying to go straight back and straight through. Right foot back, pinch that left arm in, and then keep that connection in the backswing. Hands are going to come in, we're going to hinge our wrists. And actually, that's just a really good drill for those of you who want to draw the ball, but that's for another time. So I hope that all makes sense. Identify yourself as one of those two golfers who, with those two takeaway faults, understand what makes a good takeaway, do the drills that are applicable to your faults, and what you're going to find is your ability to create power and hit the ball from the inside is going to go through the roof.